So our next speaker is a skilled engineer specializing in digital transformation, data science, distributed ledger, and innovation consulting. He has over 20 years of experience in designing world-class enterprise architectures for both government and private sectors. Not only this, he is the co-founder and chief technology officer at Gigamesh Garage Ventures. He is also the chief architect of Shomish Labs and founder of Epic Knowledge Society. Apart from these achievements, he is also a philosopher and a connoisseur of fine poetry. Such a fine gentleman would be joining us today to share his expertise and views. Make sure you interact with him and keep your questions ready and get a hold of his talk. Please welcome Mr. Gokul Alex, and I'll hand over the mic to him.
Yes, it's an honor. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's a great, exciting day for me to understand young and brilliant engineers like you guys are appreciating the value of software freedom. This technology has given hopes for millions, if not billions of people lurching in the darkness. When we are living in a very uncertain times in terms of access to information, access to knowledge, and all that. So cryptography is a very powerful weapon. That's beyond a doubt. World over, people over centuries realized cryptography is a very powerful tool. The history of cryptography goes as old as the Stone Age, like even before, even 2000 years before the AD, we have cryptography used in various cultures, like cultures in Sumerian, Egyptian, Babylonian, Indian, Chinese, Mayan, Aztec civilizations as well. With the time constraint, I am not able to give you an overview or a glimpse of the different contours and currents in cryptography. And if you have any questions, you can connect with me after this session. You can connect with me on Telegram. I'm at the rate Gokul Alex in Telegram. I am at the rate Gokul Gaze in Twitter. You can reach out to me on these platforms. You can email me at gokulalexoffice@gmail.com for any detailed conversation. With that introduction, let me get started. I know Archit, and Archit has worked with me on numerous projects. I still remember when he started working with me a couple of years back on projects related to machine learning, data science, differential privacy, etc. So I am really happy to see his journey, but let's get started. Essentially, today's session is about post-quantum cryptography. The term post-quantum cryptography may sound little eerie or little out of the world for some of you. It is nothing very out of the world. It is all about securing our systems, securing our information architectures and information systems from attacks by well-coordinated, very highly sophisticated computers, who are the computers which are using the power of nature. It could be the power enmeshed in atoms, nucleuses, light, or any powerful source like nuclear reactor, or especially exciting things like nuclear reactors and nuclear submarines. Nowadays, I'm sure all of you follow a lot of James Bond movies where you have seen nuclear submarines. Then there is a launch code with the President of United States. The people are threatening and asking the president to give the launch code. That you have seen movies like White House Down, right? And there are a lot of exciting movies. There is a lot of truth in that aspect, right? The nuclear energy is a very powerful energy. Quantum computers are harnessing the power of nature residing inside atoms, inside nucleus, inside electrons, inside neutrinos, and all of them. So When cryptography in this, we can clearly say we are living in a quantum world, right? When we are living in a quantum world, cryptography can be pre-quantum cryptography, quantum cryptography, and post-quantum cryptography. These are the three classifications. Cryptography before we understood quantum mechanics, cryptography with quantum mechanics, and cryptography after we move.
Excuse me, sir. Hello. Hello. Yeah, I think there's some issue with this network.
I think he left the meet. He might be joining in a moment.
Forward. About using.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Sorry, hello. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes,
Am I
sir.
audible?
Yes, sir. I think there's some network issue from your end.
I'm sorry. Somebody is calling me, and then I'm on my telephone network. That's
Okay,
why
okay,
the
okay.
interruption.
Okay, sir.
Pardon the interruption. Let me share my screen once again. Okay, so okay, let me do one thing. Let me briefly show you what is this quantum computer. I hope I can take a few minutes to show you what is a quantum computer. That could give you a rough idea. What is the kind of monster we are dealing with? Okay, so quantum computer may look like this. This is the quantum computer created by, this is a live quantum computer created by IBM, IBM Q. Okay, so quantum computers can be made of different tools. Google has their quantum computer, and then, sorry, actually, yeah, Google has a quantum computer. Microsoft has a quantum computer. IBM has a quantum computer. All MIT has a quantum computer. World over, even in India, we created quantum computers in the early 2000s. IIT Delhi and IIT Bangalore and Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, they have created their own quantum computers. Quantum computer cannot work in isolation. Quantum computers have to interface with classical computers. That classical computer can be a supercomputer, DNA computer, nuclear reactor, or any of those things, right? Nuclear machine. It's not nuclear reactor. Even in your hospitals, you have nuclear magnetic resonance machines, NMR, right? If you have gone to hospitals, you know we use NMR machines, nuclear magnetic resonance machines. If you do some very careful engineering, you can convert all of them into quantum computers. But that's an old technology. Nowadays, we are working on different type of quantum computers known as so there are the quantum computers working with nucleus. Quantum phenomena in the nucleus is called nuclear quantum computer. The quantum computers which use ions, they are ion-based ion lattice quantum computers. If you are using optical networks, optoelectronics, they are called photonic quantum computers. If you use the topological properties of certain materials, they are called topological quantum computers. And there are a lot of other quantum computers coming, like graphene-based quantum computers, etc. So a quantum computer will essentially have a quantum chip, which is kept at on a temperature suitable for quantum computing. Nowadays, people are researching on room temperature quantum computer using silicon quantum computers and the photonic quantum computers, but that's very early. So a quantum computer is built on a quantum chip. On the top of quantum chip, we will have connections between classical computers and quantum computers. And then on the top of it, we will write quantum instruction sets, on the top of which we will write quantum arithmetic logic. Then it will be deployed to a runtime, and it will also be loading a compiler. And on the top of this, we will run quantum programming languages. And there we will write quantum algorithms into different languages. You should be proud that one of the most famous quantum algorithm is created by an Indian, two Indians. One is Love Grover, and then second is Umesh Vazrani. Both of them are currently in US working for very confidential projects. Okay, so quantum computers, you model things using quantum theory, and then you design quantum computer architecture. So this is the different layer on quantum computers. You have the bottommost layer is physical layer, where we talk about physical apparatus for creating quantum computers using lasers, micro electromechanic systems, quantum dots, etc. Then you virtualize it, then you create logical qubits. So after virtualizing it, you create quantum error cancellation, and then on the top of it, you deploy logical qubits. On the top of it, you build quantum applications, right? So this is IBM Q. This is the components inside a quantum computer. I think these are enough for you to understand how a quantum computer looks like. Okay, now with this introduction, we are stepping into getting back to our post-quantum cryptography method. So how do you secure your cryptography in the day when powerful agencies, powerful nations, powerful groups get hold of quantum computers? How can you protect your nation? How can you protect your individual data? For that purpose, you need quantum resistant cryptography. So what is quantum resistant cryptography? Quantum resistant cryptography is all about using algorithms which cannot be broken by quantum computers. Among those lists, we have why do we need it? Because the current algorithms used in classical cryptography, be it integer factorization problem, discrete logarithm problem, elliptical curve discrete logarithm problem, they can be broken by interesting set of algorithms known as Shor algorithm and Grover's algorithm. Shor is the computer scientist. When he was working in IBM, he invented this algorithm. Currently, he is a visiting professor in MIT. He is retired, and you can see his lectures on YouTube. His name is Peter Shor. Okay, so the interest around post-quantum cryptography came up when National Institutes and Standards in Technology has done a research. They have invited applications for post-quantum cryptography. Same way, the European Commission also did the research. Why do we need quantum computers? Because all these algorithms which we are using on our day-to-day purposes, they are all getting challenged. They are either broken or their security has been diluted. RSA is no longer secure. RSA is Rivet, Shamir, and Adelman. ECDSA is elliptical curve digital signature algorithm. ECDH is elliptical curve Diffie-Hellman algorithm. This is a simple digital signature algorithm. AES 256, which is very formidable algorithm, that even that is not as secure as it was in the past. SHA also maybe will face a lot of challenges. Hashing algorithms have some sort of immunity, but even then they are also getting challenged. So the primarily asymmetric cryptographic algorithms and digital signature algorithms are mainly under attack. Okay, how much more time I have, Archit? Could you please confirm?
Yes, sir, you have 45 minutes now.
I have 45 more minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you. Okay, so quantum computers would break all asymmetric public key cryptography. So that means, I hope all of you know there is two broader segments of cryptography, symmetric and asymmetric. And nowadays we also talk about chaos-based cryptography, which I have not covered in the session. But chaos-based cryptography is becoming very popular these days. Okay, so you should also study about that. But summarily, symmetric cryptography and asymmetric cryptography are there. Primarily, quantum computers attack asymmetric cryptography because they are using number theoretic and the probabilistic assumptions. But the other cryptography, the symmetric cryptography, is using the asymmetric cryptography. That means the key is the same between the encrypting device and the decrypting device. When you use identical keys, then it's called symmetric cryptography. When you use unique keys for the encryption and decryption, it is known as asymmetric cryptography. And then there is a third category called hashing algorithms. Hashing algorithms are a separate category altogether. It is a set of one-way functions. I hope you must have heard about one-way functions in mathematics. One-way functions are functions which, for example, functions which calculate the prime numbers. Or can anybody give me an example of a one-way function that you have studied? Is exponential series a one-way function or a two-way function? No problem. If you have answers, you can share your answers. Otherwise, I will continue. Okay. So if you look at symmetric cryptography is now, even now, very popular with browsers. A lot of you must be using, all of you must have used latest browsers like Brave browser, and you must have used Google Chrome as well. I think there is a comment. Yeah, that's a very good answer. Finding the prime factors of large numbers. Yeah, that is correct. Interesting. Yeah. So these kind of functions, one-way functions, are used for hashing. But there are because if they are bidirectional two-way functions, then you can retrieve the message from the code. That's why hashing functions use one-way functions. Okay. So okay, pseudo-random generators. Wow, another good answer. Can you give me an example of a pseudo-random generator? Gurname Singh. Sorry, I'm not sure if I pronounced your name correctly. Yeah, that's a good answer, no doubt. But can you pronounce? Sorry, can you give me an example? That will be good. Okay. So there is an interesting prediction in the year 2018 by Dr. Michel Mosca, who is a professor in University of Waterloo. He has predicted that there is a 1 in 7 chance that some fundamental public key crypto will be broken by the year 2026, and there is a 1 in 2 chance that by same in 2031. Wow, linear congruential method. I don't understand it. Vishal, if you can explain me with an example, that would be good. I think you guys are studying mathematics very well. I'm really happy to see that. It is one of the dream of our, we have an organization which is working on cryptography education in India. We have a dream that in the next, at least in the next 5 years down the line, we should have at least 100 young cryptographers in India who, and we wish to one day conduct a very good cryptography conference in India. If you know, in US, China, Europe, and they all conduct their cryptography conferences. Wow, Michaeli-Schnorr generator. I have not heard of it. Amazing, Gourmet. Thank you so much. I will research on it. Michaeli-Schnorr generator. It basically yield a sequence of pseudo-random numbers calculated discontinuous. Amazing. I will read further about this Michaeli-Schnorr generator. Okay. Can you send me this notes, Archit, if you don't mind?
Yes, sir. Sir, I'll send you the chat after the talk.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. So we'll continue. So what is Michel Mosca's prediction? This is Michel Mosca prediction. Level of risk determination. So unless we work on the migration into post-quantum cryptography, there is a good chance that the algorithms that you are using in a bank, in your digital identity like Aadhaar, and your browsers, and your car, your wallets, like the kind of wallets you use nowadays, all of us use Google Pay, Paytm, and PhonePe, all that. They will all be under severe attack if we don't secure them with post-quantum cryptography. That's a very practical challenge in front of us. So this is the reason why post-quantum cryptography becomes an important priority for us. So we need quantum resistant or quantum safe cryptography. Okay, so moving faster, there were 82 submissions, 23 with digital signatures, 59 on encryption schemes. Some of the most prominent streams of cryptography under the category of post-quantum cryptography are lattice-based cryptography with linear LW. It's a bit long that I worked on this. Let me go to lattice. It's lattice LW algorithms. There are a lot of algorithms. I can also show you the code base today. Lattice. So this is called learning with errors. There is a beautiful session by Simons Institute. I would strongly recommend using it. But I think all of you may be more interested in the code. If you go to, there is, if I have time, I can show you lattice LWE. Yeah. So now there are, this is one of the early ones. Frodo, yeah, Frodo is very good. It's updated recently. And nowadays it seems there are a lot of them. But Stings, let me look at Stings. If you go to Microsoft has come up with a very good cryptographic algorithm. Microsoft, I think then it is IBM. IBM Lattice Crypto. Okay, I'll come back to this, but Frodo is a good one. It's a Frodo is open. Maybe they have made it private. Frodo key exchange mechanism is, how does lattices look like? Let me show you how the lattices look. Lattice cryptography. I'll show you the diagram. Yeah, this is the diagram of lattice, how a lattice will look like. Lattice is a mathematical whole system. There is a famous Indian professor who is working on lattices, Vinod Vaikundanathan. We should be proud that there is another Indian who is working on lattices extensively. Okay, so in geometry and group theory, lattice is a subgroup of the additive group Rn with isomorphic to the additive group Zn. Okay, so Zn is a abelian group. So this spans a real vector space Rn. So in the Euclidean plane, you must have studied about Euclidean geometry and non-Euclidean geometry, right? So in the Euclidean plane, this is how lattice will look like. Okay, essentially these are coming under the category of algebraic groups, topological and Lie algebra. You may be studying about Lie algebra. It is very good if you study about these groups. It comes under this discrete group theory. Okay. I am not a mathematician. I am not a practicing mathematician. So I would recommend you to study more about this. Okay. Let me get back to the presentation. Okay. If there are questions, you can ask me. If I don't know the answer, I will answer them after the session in Telegram. You can reach out to me in Telegram. So lattice with the learning with error. Essentially, learning with error is a method by which we add randomness to a polynomial. See, a lattice, you may be knowing, right? If you study three-dimensional geometry, in three-dimensional geometry, we will have three different equations for explaining a three-dimensional space or three-dimensional object. In that three-dimensional object, when you add an error, it's called learning with error. So essentially, you are able to place a vector diagonal to 3 points in a three-dimensional cube like a lattice. That is how you construct and you superimpose your message inside this three-dimensional object. That's why it is very secure. A quantum computer, it is not yet proven, or nobody has yet proven that quantum computers can break a lattice, a three-dimensional lattice, which has the problem, the NP-hard problem is finding the shortest vector in this three-dimensional lattice. The second method is using error correcting code like GOPA code. GOPA code is interestingly one of the oldest it is even older than GOPA code is derived from McEllis code. Okay, McEllis code created by a cryptographer called McEllis. It is even older than the RSA. So, but there may be reasons why it never saw the light of the day. But now we are all studying about McEllis cryptography. So yeah, the basics of error correcting codes is McEllis crypto system. If you go to, you can see McEllis invented this in 1978 itself, but it was never popularized those days. Maybe, I don't know the reasons why it never saw the light, but now people are accepting it is safe even when there is a quantum computer. The third secure mechanism is hash functions. Hash functions, when you study about hash functions, the first one that comes to your mind is the normal secure hashing algorithm, SHA-1, 2, 3. But there are a lot of different hash algorithms like Pedersen hash, Poseidon hash. So I would like you to study about this is Poseidon hash. This is used in blockchain systems nowadays. Poseidon, yeah, Poseidon is very formidable hash system. And then there is also Pedersen hash system, Pedersen hash system. That is another it is Pedersen. Yeah, Pedersen. So you should study about Pedersen and Poseidon. These are very good hash functions. Okay, and let's get back to the presentation. Is there any question? No. Okay, and then third, the fourth one is multivariate polynomial. Multivariate polynomial is where, like, you must have studied about partial differential equations, right? There are partial derivatives. Likewise, what is a multivariate polynomial? Like you could have x, y, z in the same polynomial, right? Different kind of varying variables. So among this, lattices are most versatile. You can use it for digital signature and encryption. Error correcting codes are suitable for encryption. Hash functions are suitable for digital signatures. Multivariate polynomials are suitable for, but this is a slightly outdated. Right now, I'm seeing more adoption, more versatility in the cryptographic library. Super singular elliptical curve cryptography is another beautiful cryptographic system, but it is a very new model. Super singular cryptography is using cryptography. Let me show you. super singular isogeny based cryptography. I hope you have seen the elliptical curve cryptographic diagram. So this is the diagram showing a super singular isogeny based system. You are creating an isomorphic or isomorphism between two elliptical curves. So you must have studied that elliptical curves are mirror. You can do translation, additions, and multiplications with a scalar in elliptical curves. So this is where you use two different elliptical curves, P and Q, and you are establishing an isogeny between two elliptical curves. Okay, and this is how you depict the mathematical part of it. If you need help, if you are interested, I'm taking cryptography interns. If anyone of you are interested to work with me on post-quantum cryptography or in Twitter. So one of my projects is related to lattices, where lattices can be used for encrypting cloud-based data. Super singular isogeny is very cutting edge, but if you are interested, I can guide you in this. Machiavelli's crypto system is used even in blockchain systems nowadays to make them post-quantum safe. Okay, back to the material. So these are, once again, to recap: lattice-based cryptography, code-based cryptography. Code-based is GOPA code and Machiavelli's code system. Hash-based cryptography and the multivariate. In this, they are not mentioning about super singular, but super singular cryptography is also there. And other important factor that you should study is that yeah, so okay, let me come back to that point. I think there is a question. Vishal, can you suggest some source to start with quantum cryptography? The best source is Wikipedia, in my opinion. If you come to Wikipedia and search about post-quantum cryptography, yeah, NIST also has published. I will give you this link. NIST, Wikipedia, and Microsoft is good. Microsoft has also very good documentation. This is one of the best, most authentic source for, but I think they have not given more details. You should go to GitHub. GitHub, there is IBM. Let me search IBM TQC. Okay, there is some very good site. I'll tell you shortly. IBM TQC. Let me check. Okay. PQ Crypto. I think there is a site called the PQC. PQ Crypto. There are some good books. If you connect with me offchain, I can give you that material. There are some good books also getting published. So Open Quantum Safe. Yeah, this is a good site. If you come to this GitHub repo, it's updated very recently. So this is a good source. Yeah, Open Quantum Safe. Yeah, pqcrypto.org. That's again good. Yeah, this is very good. Microsoft has published a good paper. Okay. Microsoft has even created a VPN. These are the libraries. IBM is not there. I don't know why. So AWS has written a TLS. So okay, let me open these things to you. I think this will be more useful than my slides. Slow down. Yeah, this is a very good site. Open Quantum Safe. Open Quantum Safe project. You can contribute to them. You can connect with them. They are all inviting participation. So there is a libqs library. You can find all the details in GitHub. LibOQS is with Open Quantum State. Okay, and this is the other very useful site. pqcrypto.org. This is again very good source. So here they give details of hash-based cryptography, code-based cryptography, lattice-based cryptography, and MQ, multivariate quadratic equations. Wow, it's a quadratic equation. And then if you come here, you can try. SIDH is very good. Frodo is a key and exchange protocol with on the lattice learning with error. And then SIDH is a cryptographic protocol based on super singular isogeny. Picnic is also very good. It's useful for zero knowledge proof systems. I hope you guys have some idea about zero knowledge proof, right? If you don't know, please let me know. QTesla is a post-quantum signature scheme, and this is from Amazon. Amazon created one for, I think I have not come across this in the past. This must be very new. Wow, okay. And lattice-based cryptography is started in 1996. If you know, there was an Indian who worked on this. His name is Sanjay Garg. Yeah, there is an Indian. He also worked on lattices. If you go to YouTube, Wikipedia and search Sanjay Garg lattices. He's currently with IBM, I guess. Sanjay Garg cryptography. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think Professor Sanjay Garg. Yeah, this is the person. You should know. He has worked on Sanjay Kumar Garg. Okay, anyways, I think this is the person. Oh, I think this is different. Sorry, I forgot his proper name. But it's known in the time of so Ajitai. Ajitai is the one who initiated work on lattice-based cryptography. Let me quickly get back to the presentation. Okay, so this is lattice cryptography is the one of the initial library you should know is called NTRU. NTRU and Bliss are the earlier cryptographic schemes. If you go to YouTube and search about NTRU, you will find a very good video lecture on NTRU. NTRU is, in fact, initially when NTRU was proposed, people it was rejected by mainstream cryptographers. NTRU crypto. Yeah, I think if you go to lattice cryptography, there is, I think this is the presentation. There was another presentation. Yeah, Feynman's Institute is a good authority. If you are interested to know more about lattice-based cryptography, you can refer to Feynman's Institute. Their video lectures are very good. Lattice-based cryptography. You just come here and search. Okay, fine. So, are there any questions? Okay, no problem. So there are learning with error problem, which is one of the NP-hard problem related to lattices. Shortest vector problem in a lattice. It is the benchmark for lowest bound. Okay, and multivariate cryptography. Earlier library is called Rainbow. Rainbow is a multivariate quadratic equation crypto called. It's part of a system called unbalanced oil and vinegar crypto system. Okay, so I'm sure you must have seen multivariate quadratic equations. It's not very difficult. And then interestingly, there are two digital signatures algorithm. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. Merkle signature and the Lambert signature. So you should search about Merkle signature. Merkle signature key. If you come here and search, you will find very good videos on Merkle signature. I think even there are two cryptographic systems like IOTA and XMSS. Both of them are using Merkle signature. Popular signature scheme. It's not very popular. It's known from Leslie Lambert, who is the very seminal. He's currently with Microsoft Research. Lambert signature. Lambert signature is another secure signature. It's used in one-time secure signature schemes. Okay, so these are coming under the category of hash-based signature. Okay, you can find a lot of details about this. This is Leslie Lambert, the person who has invented this signature scheme. Okay, now yeah, so now let's proceed further. Code-based cryptography. In code-based cryptography, like we mentioned about McEliece scheme, Robert McEliece crypto, McEliece crypto. I think it is McEliece crypto. Yeah. So this is the person known as Robert McEliece. This is the person who created the McEliece cryptographic system. It's like creating random polynomial. Okay, so McEliece crypto system. You can find a lot of good videos about McEliece crypto system in YouTube. Okay, so in 2016, Robert Wang, I think it is Robert Wang, proposed a random linear code system, RLCE, based on McEliece scheme. But nowadays, we look at Gopa code. Gopa code is very popular. Gopa code. Gopa code is a very popular system derived from McEliece code. It's again yeah, if you go and search, you can find a lot of materials. This is the Princeton. If you go to this video, it's from Princeton University Institute of Advanced Study. It will be good if you refer. These are two very good courses for cryptography. Tanja Lange, post-quantum cryptography, and Princeton Institute of Advanced Study. This is again a very good source for studying about cryptography and computer science. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, no problem. So let me proceed further. So yeah, what are the recommendations from European Commission? European Commission recommended their finding is symmetric algorithms are not usually affected by Shor algorithm. If you want, I can give you a basic introduction to Shor algorithm quickly. Shor and Grover algorithm very quickly. I think I'll try to complete this presentation and give you. But you should remember these three. SALSA 20, Poly, these are post-quantum safe cryptographic algorithms. SALSA, Chacha, and Poly. These are used by Google Chrome, latest version of Google. Google and even the TLS 1.3, if you know about transport TLS algorithm, right? TLS is used for encrypting the SSL, our communication. Even there, they use Poly, Chacha, etc. You just come and search about Poly, Chacha, 20. Chacha cipher. Yeah, this is another very good tool for studying cryptography. Number 5 Chacha cipher from this video. Sorry, I think there is an ad. This is the video. Chacha cipher from number 5. That's again a very good Poly, Chacha 20. I think there are really very less Poly Chacha 20 cipher. Yeah, this is again a good source to study. Cha-Cha cipher. Okay, so let me get back to the present. So recommended to use at least AES 256. Please don't use AES 128, Salsa 20, Serpent 256. Okay, and then symmetric. Some of the Poly is a symmetric message authentication code system that is used for message authentication in browsers and digital signature schemes. Okay. In public key cryptography, elliptical curve and RSA are not safe now. So it's better to use code-based cryptography from Robert McEllis if you are planning to build any uh, uh, system in the future. Okay. And then, so public key signatures, XMSS, Extended Merkle-Tree Signature Scheme, SPINS, and HFE. These are good models. So if you look at the implementation, these are some of the earlier tools: CodeCrypt, OneTime, TinySSH, and PQ Crypto VPN project from Microsoft. And it can be used for, Picnic can be used for zero knowledge proof systems. This is the project I mentioned earlier, Open Quantum Safe. It was started in 2016. They came up with the libOQS. I hope you are aware of Libsodium. Libsodium is a very important cryptographic library. You should be familiar. Libsodium. You should study. If you are interested in cryptography, you should study about Libsodium. Libsodium is a, if you go to GitHub and research about it, you can find a lot of materials on Libsodium. Libsodium is written in C++, but you can customize it in other languages. Like there are wrappers available. It's written in C. Wrappers are available in JavaScript and the Golang and Rust, I guess. Okay. So yeah. So now moving forward. So like I mentioned, post-quantum cryptography can be either quantum assistive or quantum resistant. So quantum resistance are the ones we have seen now. Quantum assisted are using quantum communication systems like BBVN. I hope I will be able to give you a glance of it very quickly. So I don't want to cover zero knowledge proof at the moment because that will be a different branch of cryptography. Let me quickly take you to the quantum, the other presentation. Is there any question now at this moment?
Sir, can we wrap up the PPT in 5 minutes? Then we can have a Q&A if you want.
Oh, sure. I'll
Yes, sir.
wrap it very fast. Please give me a moment.
Okay, sure.
So I am inside. This is my other presentation. I will upload all of this in GitHub and share with you. So this is the poem written by Peter Shor. It's an interesting poem. You should read. This was written by Peter Shor and his wife. So 1994, Peter Shor presented factoring algorithm for quantum machine. That moment, the world was shocked to know that the military cryptography is no longer safe. So this shows the evolution, right? I don't have time to explain all this, but this is a quantum bit. Quantum bit can switch between 1 and 0. It's not only 1 and 0. You can have multiple states in between 1 and 0. This is something known as Bloch sphere. Bloch sphere is created by Irish scientists to show that quantum computers or quantum information can exist in multiple states at the same time. So this is how you make a quantum computer. Quantum computer will have data center where you integrate with the classical system. And this is what a quantum computer is all about. And then quantum computer will need a cooling system till it reaches the 0-degree Kelvin. So even now, there is a thermodynamic limit for quantum computer. That's why you need a refrigeration unit and a coolant. Okay, so I will share this video. Because I don't have much time to explain. This is a quantum annealing technology. This was one of the early quantum computers invented in 2005 by a Canadian startup known as D-Wave. Now it is funded by NASA and Google. That is a model called quantum annealing. If you studied about adiabatic computation in thermodynamics, you will understand this is the method for this is one of the early methods for quantum optimization problems like traveling salesman problem, air traffic scheduling problem, traffic optimization, weather forecasting, etc. Superconducting qubit model is slightly different. You you move it again to superconducting temperature, which is below 1 degree, 200. It is brought under 20 millikelvin. So quantum computers can be created using superconducting loop, ion traps, silicon quantum dots, topological qubits, and diamond vacancies. You can see the accuracy of them. You can see that topological qubits is most difficult among them, but most interesting. Now, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Honeywell, all of them are working on this spectrum, topological qubit-based quantum computers. Okay, so quantum qubit is a quantum bit. It could be this is Google, IBM, Rigetti, D-Wave are working on superconducting loop. The Honeywell is working, and IonQ. They have created a 128 qubit quantum computer. IBM is targeting to create 5,000 qubit quantum computer by 2025. All of them are, it's a quantum supremacy race. So this is the roadmap. Initially, we did single physical qubit, and then algorithms has been used for multiple qubits, physical qubits, and then quantum non-deterministic measurements were done for error correction. Then logical memory was created on the top of physical qubit. Then logical qubit came. Now we are working on multiple logical qubits, and eventually in the future, we are hoping that we'll be able to create fault-tolerant, fault-resilient quantum computers. So this diagram you have seen earlier. So fault-tolerant quantum computer is the roadmap, but currently we are in the noisy intermediate scale quantum computers. So this is the history. 1994, Peter Shor. This is the person. Peter Shor published the algorithm. Shor's algorithm is this is the circuit for Shor's algorithm. This is the quantum circuit. H stands for Hadamard gate, and these are there is quantum Fourier transform, and this is how do we measure classical with a classical system. So Peter Shor showed it is possible to factor a number into its primitives efficiently. So you can break. He has shown theoretically and practically. He has shown how we can break integer prime number factors using quantum computer. This is the pseudocode for that. This is written in. I think it is written in some pseudocode. Okay. So quantum computers are powerful. Shor's algorithm. I don't think I have time to explain this. I hope if anyone of you are interested, work on quantum cryptography or post-quantum cryptography, quantum algorithms, or any of the related fields, you can connect with me. I'll show you my GitHub profile. My GitHub profile is Gokul San. You can reach out to me in GitHub. Sorry, you can if you like follow me in GitHub, it will be good. You can also connect with me on Twitter and Telegram. Telegram, I am Gokul Gaze. Sorry, Gokul Alex. Twitter, I am Gokul Gaze. Over to you, Archidanti. I hope I could do justice to the time.
Yeah. So yes, sir. So it was an amazing PPT. I think most of them must be like shocked right now because like it was like
sorry,
a
I
lot
was
of
a little fast because of the time.
No worries, sir. No worries. So yeah, so sir is open to questions. You can ask away a question.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to speak up, we can speak up or send your
any kind of feedback. Any kind of feedback is welcome because I learn from people like you only. In fact, youngsters, I learned blockchain from people who are very junior to me. So I believe that I can only learn from the future talents and generations. I've learned a lot from Archit, Rishabh, and a lot of people, from the beginning.
So the first question is, sir, to learn more about the quantum computing, where should we start now?
Best place to start would be I would suggest you go to IBM QAS Kit. If you want, I can show that. That's the best place to begin studying about. But in India, the IITs have created an NPTEL lecture series in YouTube. That's a little slow, but if you want a slow course, that is a good one. If you want to learn on your own pace, I would suggest the IBM QAS Kit. I will give you the material right away. IBM QAS Kit tutorial. IBM. I learned from IBM only. IBM Quantum Experience. That's where I started learning about quantum computer. You go to IBM Quantum Documentation. That's the best place, because IBM. I studied for about quantum computers initially from IBM, and later I studied from other sources. NPTEL is also good, no doubt about it. Yeah. So I'm just giving you the link. So what is the second question?
Yes, sir. The next question is, will quantum key distribution be an effective deterrent to Grover's algorithm?
It's an interesting thought. Grover's algorithm is all about brute search. You are creating a quantum oracle. Have you heard the term oracle? Oracle, not the Oracle company. There is the oracle means like quantum. Oracle is a source of physical nature. Quantum oracle means quantum nature prophet. So if you think that the nature is giving you some information, that's a quantum oracle. Yeah, it's a black box function. Very good, Shashank. So you are leveraging quantum oracles and their ability power to search a digital database. Like, Love Grover said, what if you want to search for a phone number in a telephone directory of United States? How difficult it is. It's not easy. So if you have, it may take 2 raised to n. If you use a computer with, imagine searching, if you're searching for a particular number in a 2000 page book, a telephone directory, how difficult it is with a classical computer. Quantum computer makes it so simple because it uses a quantum oracle. Quantum oracle will be harnessing the power, all the information, because quantum oracle can break down every information, and then it uses the power of quantum computer to run parallel queries. So it will be querying all the 200 pages simultaneously, right? And then it will break down the Turing machine. So you use the model of quantum Turing machine invented by David Deutsch. I am not sure if you've heard of him. He is one of the living authorities on quantum computation, Professor David Deutsch. He invented quantum Turing machine when he was working with Cambridge or Oxford. I think he's Cambridge. So that is the way by which you create a Grover search engine. But I am not able to understand how quantum key distribution system can prevent. There could be possibilities, because if you create a quantum key distribution based random system, authentication system, perhaps you can stop Grover's algorithm from searching your data. It's quite possible. That could be a research problem, Shashank. If you want to work on, I'll be happy to guide you if you want to work on this problem.
Sure,
but it's
sir.
a very good thought.
So actually, I'm also learning from IBM right now. IBM is focusing on quantum machine learning, right? So how will it go hand in hand with quantum cryptography too?
Yeah, very much. See,
Okay.
now there is something called the privacy preserving machine learning system. which Archit, I think, has worked on it from DeepMind, right? Archit is interning with OpenMind, right?
Open mind. Yes, sir, open.
OpenMind, yeah, OpenMind. So if you want to do privacy, for example, you want to protect the data, healthcare data, COVID database, right? Or medical database, you can create a quantum firewall, which will be using Grover's algorithm in an inverted manner. You know about page ranking algorithms, right? Google's algorithm is an inversion of the classical tree algorithm. They inverted the algorithm. So likewise, if you invert the quantum FFT, you can make sure that only quantum randomness authenticated people are able to access this data. This is a way by which you can protect census data, you can protect the healthcare data, military data, any private and confidential data. Shashank, if you are already with QASKit, I think you can do this project on your own, and I will be happy to guide you if required.
Sure, sir. I'll be sure to contact you for this.
Thank you. Anytime. Shashank, sorry, Archit has my coordinates. Yeah,
Yes.
Archit can connect, and I'll be so glad because I am working on a new system called quantum databases.
So I think
So
he is in your community as well. Shashank is in your community. Yes.
Oh, is it? Which community? Is it in Discord?
So, I think I got him added in Epic as well.
Telegram group, I believe.
Wow, I didn't know that, Shashank. Nice meeting you. So
Thank
I'll
you.
be so
Yeah,
glad
same.
if we can talk to you. Yeah, we can make it offline. I think more questions are
Yes,
there.
sir.
Nice
I have a question, sir. Like,
Shashank also is in your college?
yes, sir. We are from the same college.
Brilliant. Yes, Archit, our team.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a question. Like, as we know, sir, like using quantum computers will increase the computation speed and time and reduce the time. So, like, it's like known, like training deep learning models is like very hard. So we are like experimenting with building GPUs and stuff. So would it be helpful, like quantum computer, what would the effect on that process of quantum computer?
Very much, very much. See, quantum computers can make your classical computation energy efficient. Right now, if you know, Google is working on tensor processing units, TPUs, right? TPUs are using classical models now. But what if you create a quantum Boltzmann machine? You know about restricted Boltzmann machines, right? Which gives the free energy, right? So if you create a TPU, tensor processing unit, which can delegate the tensor processing part into a quantum hardware, then it can make the learning exponentially faster. For example, any non-linear function, for example, you have sigmoid functions, right? It's a non-linear function.
Yes, sir.
And what do you call it? It's been a while since I looked at sigmoids and other activation functions, right? So if you are able to, sorry, you have some idea?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sigmoid is like an activation function. Like it's like a value, like gives us values between 0 and 1.
Sorry, I lost you.
Yes, sir.
Saying something?
Yeah, I said, sir, sigmoid is just a like function which restricts bounds between 0 and 1.
Yeah. So what if you want to run 10,000 sigmoid functions simultaneously? Imagine you are trying to train or trigger 10,000 neurons or 1 lakh neurons at a time. You can feed all of them into a quantum processing unit, QPU, and then it will be able to run the sigmoid functions on a quantum circuit using, there's a circuit called delay unit. If you pass, there are Toffoli gates, quantum, I think Shashank may know better than me. It's been a while I run experiments on quantum QASKit and quantum experience. So if you run delay circuits and certain non-linear gates inside quantum machine, you will be able to parallelize the activation functions, and then you can also make the learning program very efficient, right? And the take up this project with your because
Yes, sir. Maybe in the
we can
beginning.
take it up because uh, I have who are working on reducing
Yes.
the energy use because nowadays the tensor processing units and GPUs are shedding lot of heat, which is
Yes.
a huge concern. We should, in the future, this will become a big problem. Even in the crypto world, we talk about reducing the and all, right? So same applies even to machine learning machines. I mean
Yes.
GPUs. We can make them
Yes.
energy because the moment you get into quantum thermodynamic limit, what really happens is nature began to dance on its own tunes. So that is why somebody is writing dancing qubits. It's a very good statement. Nature is nature
Yes, sir.
does it. There is lot of autonomy. The moment you get into quantum space, you don't need to teach nature. Nature knows everything. Nature
Yes.
becomes entangled with you, right? Entanglement is a beautiful concept. There is I always feel I'm entangled with the trees here when I'm going to a beach and waves of nature. You are entangled the moment you feel your mind is going beyond your body. That is a kind of entanglement you feel
Yeah.
in nature.
Yeah. Sir, another question is like I'm working with privacy preserving machine learning and stuff. So another thing that came to my mind is like, won't quantum computers be more like at risk from adversaries? Like, won't they be more easily affected by adversary because the competition speed is quite fast? So I think it would be quite easier to like track them.
That's exactly right. Your apprehensions are well positioned because right now, more than for offense, quantum computers are being experimented across governments. I can't disclose the name of the
Yes.
government, but a lot of governments are treating this as a military technology, which is very unfortunate.
Yes, sir.
Very unfortunate. This technology is like a double-edged sword right now. That is the reason many scientists were apprehensive of using this technology, even though people know that this technology is possible from 1960s. Even 1960s, Richard Feynman, Paul Dirac, Erwin Schrödinger, Niels Bohr, Albert Einstein, Bell, all of them knew this technology can make our systems energy efficient, but they were apprehensive because of the experience with atomic energy, right?
Yes.
You know what happened with atomic energy. So this technology has to be used only with genuine and social interest. If but unfortunately nowadays this there is a strong chance that this technology could get in the hands of divisive forces and dissident forces. And I wish people don't do that way. I'm always an advocate of using this technology for peaceful purpose, medical
Yeah.
purposes, clinical purposes, and to
Yes,
make
sir. Because I think if they like resort to those matters, then I think it would be like very detrimental to the progress of the research we have done till now.
yeah. You can, and where there could be unpredictable consequences if this technology is used for nefarious purposes.
Yes.
So, like doctors taking Hippocrates oath, this is time for even engineers to take an oath and say that we won't use our technology for nefarious purposes. At least
Yes.
your generation should show the model. I don't know about my generation, but at least your generation should have more conscience when working with these lethal technologies.
Yes. Yes. Okay, sir. I think we are done with the questions, sir. And so it was very nice having you, sir. And
My pleasure. It's an
sir,
honor.
yes, sir. Sir, if anyone has any questions, they can like write it in the Discord channel. We have made a separate Discord channel under like Talk Gokul Alex.
Oh,
You can,
is it? I will
yes, sir.
join. Did I join? I think I've
Yeah, I
joined.
think you have joined. Yes, sir. So if there are
Yeah.
any any question, they will freeze. Else, sir, you can share the resources you mentioned there, so
Yeah,
that
can you
anyone can.
give me permission? I don't have permission to add resources.
Okay, wait, I'll ask someone. Okay, sir,
Okay,
I'll
that would
tell
be
my
great.
teammates to do that.
Yeah, so once again, I wish all of you all the best. When is the next exam?
Exams for what?
I mean, you have
Talk.
all completed your course?
Actually,
After-
sir, some of us are in 4th year, some of us are in 3rd year, some are in 2nd year.
Oh, nice, nice.
So
Okay. All the best for your studies. I hope all of you will use technology to transform the society. This is a very wonderful age, right? We all have access to information, intelligence, immeasurable intelligence and information. Kindly make use of them to the fullest. Now, I know Archit for the last 2-3 years now. I've seen that he's a very he's growing to be a well-disciplined technocrat. I wish all the same for all of you. I heard a lot of interesting questions. Gurunamesh, Mekan,
Gurname.
and Gurname and Shashank. I wish all the very best, Vishal. All of you, all the best in your education. Looking forward to connect with all of you in Discord, and I'll be happy to share my little droplets of knowledge with all of you. I hope this becomes a great ocean of wisdom.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Signing off. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye, sir.